What's going on, everyone? Happy Saturday. Hopefully everyone is doing well and having a great day so far. It is time now for the Saturday weather update for Saturday, November 23rd, 2024. If you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. This is where I do daily weather updates on all things weather in the United States and sometimes a weather headline of something that is happening elsewhere around the world. So if you're new to my channel, want to stay informed with what's going on with the weather, subscribe down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it, hit that notification bell, share this video with anyone you know, and of course leave any questions and comments down below. Starting off today with an international headline. Over in the UK and in Ireland, there is a storm that has been pretty significant, and there has now been a death from the storm. A man has died after a tree falls on a car as storm Bert, that's the name of the storm, brings heavy snow and winds to the UK. Yes. Take a look here. There's been flooding. There's been snow. Yes, this has just not been... Wow, look at the waves here on the shorelines. Yeah, this is just a pretty significant storm system, and we've been seeing a number of storm systems go through the Europe this year. So it's been an active year for storms, not just in the United States, but other places around the world. As you know, recently over in the Philippines, they had multiple typhoons. It's been quite the year, and I think at some point at the end of this year, we'll probably do a recap and revisit the various different storms that occurred around the world throughout the year. All right, moving on now to this. You hear the term bomb cyclone a lot. I haven't mentioned it much. I'm not a big fan of the word, but you do hear people mention it. You may see the TV, you may watch the news or the Weather Channel or wherever, and you hear the term bomb cyclone. But many people often don't know what the term bomb cyclone means, and it's actually pretty simple. When you're talking about an area of low pressure, they can do multiple things. Well, low pressures can rise, and pressure can rise, pressure can drop, or it can remain steady. Well, in this case, pressure drops relatively quickly, and pressure is measured in millibars. So when pressure drops 24 or more millibars in 24 hours, oftentimes that can be called bomb cyclone, or you may hear the term bombogenesis. So yes, bomb cyclone was definitely what was seen in the West Coast, because that storm system in the Pacific dropped more than 24 millibars in 24 hours. I mean, it just rapidly dropped, so it does classify as bomb cyclone, or otherwise known as bombogenesis. And you often don't hear about it with hurricanes because, well, hurricanes have their own names. They're tropical cyclones, so you just don't hear about it with hurricanes. More so with the non-named areas of low pressure. Sometimes you hear about it over in Europe as well. All right, moving on to this. In the Bay Area, this is downtown Santa Rosa, and turns out the rainfall event that they saw with 12.47 inches of rain over 3 days qualifies as a 1,000-year event. That is just really impressive. All right, taking a look at power outages. Yeah, I do need to refresh this. We still have a lot of power outages to talk about. New York State, 33,812. Pennsylvania still has over 73,000 people without power. And there's some people without power today in Nevada, 15,705. California, 17,000. And Washington, state of Washington, 92,063. And I should note, Pennsylvania and New York, while they are trying to restore power to the places, the heavy wet snow on trees, that's never good, or power lines, it's also very windy, so that could be a problem that continues to contribute to a few power outages as well. And just for the heck of it, let's take a look at the rest of New England. Okay, not bad. Just over 1,000 in Massachusetts. I mean, it's windy all over the Northeast today, so you could potentially see a few power outages continue to pop up. All right, moving on now to this. We can see here, take a look at this. Though we do have another system in the Pacific, here it is. It is nothing like the, quote, bomb cyclone that we just saw impact the West Coast. So, yes, there's another storm system, but this one is not going to be anywhere near as extreme or major. Also wanted to share this with you. Now, earlier in the day, across Pennsylvania and New York, it was a little more clear, so you're not going to be able to see it as well now. But if you look real closely, in between the clouds, you can actually see where that snowfall did occur over the past day or so, the last 24 to 36 hours. Thought this was neat. Maine, you're still seeing some rain-snow mix. That will eventually exit by the time we get into tomorrow, and there are still some clouds back across the Ohio Valley. That will eventually try to eradicate. It may take some time. And in the southeast, you're having a nice, quiet, sunny weekend, though be it is rather chilly if you're in Florida. Maybe you went down there for the winter. Well, yeah, hi. You're getting the cold weather as well. Sorry. I mean, maybe eventually it will moderate a little bit as we head into tomorrow and into Monday. It should warm up just a little bit. And the same goes for the Mid-Atlantic region. Temperatures will moderate closer to average, and we may even see some 60s return to places like southeast Pennsylvania before yet another cold stretch will come. Taking a look at radar, we have just some showers in the west coast, but we do have some mountain snows that are ongoing in Nevada, Idaho, and Montana at this time for all the cloud cover that's in the Ohio Valley. Not a lot of precipitation to go along with that, but something else we do have occurring is a few lake effect snow showers and even rain showers coming off of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, Lake Huron. Take a look at this up in Michigan. Yes, some lake effect snow showers coming off of that lake as well. And here's what's left in Maine. This will gradually exit the picture as we head into tomorrow. Here's something I'm happy to talk about, the National Hazards Map. It's not as active. You're seeing more blank than you are seeing hazards. There are still some winter weather advisories and warnings up for portions of the northern Rockies. But you do see this in Florida and Georgia. Yes, frost advisories. It is going to get rather, I'll say the words cold there tonight, because for you, it will be rather cold. And if you have plants and you're in those areas, I mean, not far from Jacksonville, you're going to want to bring those plants inside. Also, not terribly far from Savannah, Georgia as well, just northwest of Charleston. Yes, South Carolina. It's going to be a cold night for you, and frost could happen. So bring those plants indoors. National Storm Prediction Center, nothing to talk about there today. Nothing from the Hurricane Center as well, so we don't need to show that. And we just have marginal risk of excessive rainfall, and they're all pretty much on the west coast for the next several days. And you can see here, the rest of the country is relatively quiet. However, let's take a look at this now. Here is the days 1 through 7 precipitation. Still looking at a storm system developing around Thanksgiving, somewhere in the Tennessee Valley, and it will track its way, potentially forming into a coastal system. Now, big cities like Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, I don't expect much in the way of snow for you. Could there be some onset snow? Sure, but I think it's going to quickly go to rain. Boston, I think you could potentially be rain as well. But you go a little bit further northwest of I-95, we'll have to keep our eyes on this, like the I-81 corridor. We'll have to keep our eyes on this. There could be some Thanksgiving snows for you. Now, we're not talking about a major snow system. You're going to have to go pretty far north, and there's one model at this time that's showing that. That would be the Canadian model. But again, it is looking like it's going to be wet on Thanksgiving. I know the Macy's Day Parade, Philadelphia, we have a Thanksgiving Day Parade as well. So, yeah, unfortunately, a wet Thanksgiving there. But if you're in Florida, dry. Texas, dry. The midsection's dry. And we may even be able to dry things out on the west coast for Thanksgiving as well. And you need the rain in Los Angeles. You might actually finally get some sprinkles, and that just may so happen to be on Thanksgiving. Nothing major, but keep an eye to the sky. There could be some sprinkles after you haven't had any rain for the longest period of time. I know. What timing? But hey, it is needed. Taking a look now at the models. Here's the NAM model. We can see here. Look at the pressure gradient here in the Northeast. Just very windy. We have an area of high pressure in between, so you get that gradient that is causing the winds. And there may still be some winds tomorrow as well. Not as windy as today, but it's not going to be calm either. In Florida, high pressure's in control, and things will be relatively not bad tomorrow. Temperatures in the 70s. I think that's a very nice day, and you can see temperatures in the 60s and 70s in Georgia, Alabama, more so 60s there. Carolinas, 60s and 50s, but as we advance this into Monday, take a look what happens in the east. Yes, things do warm up a little bit, at least in the southeast. You're seeing more 70s than there were. Still 40s and 50s in places like Philadelphia. But as we head into Tuesday, it will briefly warm up before another front does come through. And take a look at what happens here in the northern plains. Yikes. Yeah, that's really cold weather for you as we head into Tuesday. You can see here temperatures in the teens and even a few single digits showing up in the middle of the afternoon. And look at this, below average temperatures across the west coast as well. Let's take this out a little bit further now. We'll take a look at the GFS, and we can see on the GFS, here comes that front in the east. Just a few showers with it, maybe a little icy mix in the mountains of New England, nothing major. And then we can see here across the Rockies, it is going to remain snowy at least until Wednesday and Thursday. Now here's that next developing system that we're watching, and we can see here the major cities like DC, Baltimore, Philadelphia, even New York, although New York you're closer to being on that mix line. It's mainly a rain event for you, and you have to go northwest, like the Pocono Mountains, central Pennsylvania, Binghamton, New York, Albany, New York, Vermont. That's where there could potentially be some snow. And there's some questions that remain as to just how much snow. And it's also possible this track shifts a little bit further north. Should that happen, well, the rain-snow line would also come a little bit further north as well. You can see North Carolina in the evening. Yeah, that's some pretty heavy rain there in the Carolinas on Thanksgiving evening. But the rest of the country, let's back this up for Thanksgiving right now. The West Coast, you dry out. The central region, you dry out, and just a few showers in the evening or overnight time in the southeast, and then eventually this system does exit. But you see here, it tries to develop a coastal storm. So if that gets going a little bit faster, places like Boston or just northwest of Boston, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, you would see some significant snows. Let's take this over to the Canadian model. Wait till you see this. Here comes that cold front. Look at this. Kentucky, Ohio Valley, seeing a little bit of a stronger area of low pressure. Yeah, look at this. This is a more well-defined storm system here, and you can see as I continue to advance this, warm air really takes in Pennsylvania. I mean, the low goes over Philadelphia. That's really heavy rainfall on Thanksgiving. But look at upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and maybe even central to northern Maine. That is really heavy snowfall for you. Good news for the ski resorts. Bad timing, it is Thanksgiving Day, and this low actually goes over New York City on the Canadian. So, yeah, if you're getting a low over New York City, I know there's a lot of people out there that actually want the snow. Having an area of low pressure over New York City like that, that's not an ideal location. You also don't see an area of high pressure over the Great Lakes. We would need an area of high pressure over the Great Lakes to force us a little bit more southeast to make this a classic snowstorm. I just don't see that happening. But if you're in upstate New York, like northern New York, northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, northern Maine, hey, keep an eye on this. As long as this doesn't shift any further north, you could see some beneficial snowfalls for the ski resorts. The rest of the country, as we head into the holiday weekend, is looking pretty good. And then Friday afternoon, we'll have to keep our eyes on this. Yeah, really windy conditions in the east, and that could remain windy even as we head into much of the weekend. And then that big return day, which is Sunday, where, you know, a lot of people will be going home. Some winds in the east, but for most of the country, it's looking relatively quiet. You do see here the potential for some activity, some rain, snow activity up in Washington State at this time. Again, this will have to fine-tune as we get closer. So overall, the takeaway on today's video is we are seeing things getting quieter for today. We're going to be watching that Thanksgiving Day storm, and then the rest of the holiday period, Black Friday and everything, not looking bad, though it will be windy in a lot of places. And let's briefly take a look at the ensembles. Here's the GEFS, and we can see the GEFS for that storm system on Thanksgiving kind of all over the place. There are some more northwest members that go pretty far to the northwest. That's not good if you want to see snow. And we can see here there are a few members that get a little more developed with that area of low pressure in terms of a potential coastal storm. All right, quickly, looking at the European ensemble, I wanted to show you this, the longer range. And we can see here, troughing remains consistent in the east, while in the west, things get a little bit warmer. But take a look at that. I mean, we're starting off December. December's going to start off cold in the east, and maybe slightly above average in the west. You see there's a ridge in the west. So slightly above average, and with that, we could see a few more storm systems come into play if the flow is coming directly off the Pacific once again. But as I continue to advance this, you can see the cold remains in the east before eventually maybe the second week of December will moderate a little bit in the east before, hey, there could be maybe more cold air at some point. And take a look at this. This is relatively interesting. Look at the way this ridge is placed in the northwest. You have a ridge like that, and if a trough comes down the east, that's actually a decent signal for potentially maybe some sort of a wintry event in the east. Just something to keep an eye on down the line. Will likely change next run. Alrighty, folks, that does it for today's weather video. We'll have another one again tomorrow. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you felt informed and you want to stay informed, subscribe down below, hit that notification bell, share this video with anyone you know, and of course leave all those questions and comments down below. Maybe you're traveling to somewhere for Thanksgiving. You want to know what the weather's going to be there? Leave a comment down below. I will do my best to try and answer that question in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all again next time. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.